Growing up in Hawaii as half Japanese, I thought, oh, like I'm super Japanese, I'm like special. But then going and living in Tottori made me feel the most like American. People should study Japanese and learn how to speak and read before coming. It's like DLC content. Being able to speak and read Japanese, it unlocks maps that you would not have access to. It's so important because you can get by, but you don't realize how much you're missing. Liking anime was something you would get bullied for in high school. You would not openly admit to saying that, yeah, I watch anime. It's the same as like saying like, yeah, I watch porn.
Hey everybody, welcome to the third installment of the Live in Tokyo podcast. Also, could be the Live in Tokyo podcast. I'm still trying to decide on the pronunciation.
They both sound good.
We got Kai here, Koji Mochi. He is a content creator. Can you introduce yourself?
Hey guys, it's Kai here, also known as Koji Mochi online. 日本語だったら Kai です。28歳の動画クリエイター。
ちょっと噛んじゃった。
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to do Japanese on the
It
spot.
is hard to switch back, yeah. But I should say, まあいろいろやってるけど、メインはアニメ料理かな。
I mean, most of this podcast are going to do in English, so
Yeah.
just for people listening, don't worry, you don't have to look at subs. To explain, you also do anime cooking a lot on Instagram, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and you've been living in Japan. Well, you lived in the countryside of Tottori for 2 years.
Right.
And now you live in Tokyo.
Yeah.
And 2 years. So you've been in a big city and a very small city of Tottori.
Yeah, they're very different. Very different.
Where's Tottori exactly?
So I didn't even know before getting placed there, but Tottori is like, okay, if Japan's like a banana, Tottori's kind of smack dab in the middle near the Japan Sea.
Is Japan a banana?
I mean, it is kind of banana shaped.
I've always just said it's like California shaped, but like reverse.
Yeah.
But
banana shaped. Same thing.
I've never heard of it. Who did somebody tell you that?
No, I said it. Yeah.
Oh my, I've never thought about that, but it does kind of look like a banana.
But that's how I've been able to describe it to other people who don't know where Tottori is.
Okay. They're known for having the sand dunes.
Right. The Tottori Sakyu, which when I first Googled Tottori, I thought was going to be in my backyard. Like I thought I was going to be able to go there every day, but it was actually pretty far.
Yeah.
It's like a 40-minute drive from where I was living.
Oh, it's not that far.
I mean, it's pretty far.
But those sand dunes, like the first time I saw it, I didn't even know it was Japan. I didn't think Japan even had these types of sand dunes.
Yeah.
Did you end up going a lot though?
I went about maybe 5 times in the 2 years I was there.
And what you can do, like, what can you do on the dunes?
It's like one big dune. So just going there and taking photos is pretty cool. They also have like 2 camels there.
Yeah. What?
two camels. I don't know how they get.
Can you ride the camels?
Yeah, you can ride them. You can like pay to take photos with them or pay to ride them. But I don't know. I feel like they might be the only camels in Japan. I feel kind of bad for them.
This is good information, though, for people who want to travel to the countryside and see something other than Tokyo. You can go see camels in Tottori and go to the sand dunes.
Yeah.
So just to pull us back on track, though, today we want to talk a little bit about your story coming in to Japan. You're originally from Hawaii. Mm-hmm. We should explain you're also a half Japanese.
Oh yeah, I should have said that. Yeah, I'm from Hawaii, born and raised in Hawaii, sorry. Yeah, I'm from Oahu.
Yeah, and your mom is Japanese. Dad is from the States.
Yes.
And Italian descent, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna
similarity there.
Yeah. My last name is Italian. A lot of people say Capo or Capo, but actually, it is Capo. I confirmed with an Italian, half Japanese girl recently, but a lot of my family says Capo, just because that's the American pronunciation. But enough about me. Yeah. Today's topic, we want to talk about the differences between the countryside of Japan and the city. At the same time, we also want to kind of touch on topics revolving around being mixed Japanese in Japan versus in Hawaii. And also, you are quite tall. Can you stand up for everybody?
Yeah, sure.
Because you're 6'3". Honestly, you're not that tall the US. All right. Well, you're outside. He's outside the frame. He's out. But being a 6'3" guy, you know, I have friends as well as you. It's very hard to buy clothes in Japan. It's very hard to buy shoes.
Yeah.
So we also have to give some pointers to people listening to this podcast about where they can go if they're anywhere above. Honestly, probably if they're above 6 foot, they're gonna have issues.
Yeah, I think like so in centimeters, that's like 190 centimeters. Anything 6 foot and above, you do have trouble, like with shoes, with clothes being maybe it's long enough but it's not wide enough, like just kind of these awkward scenarios that you don't encounter in the US.
You know, this is random, but we just revealed you're over 6 foot, so now some the ladies are like, Koji Mochi is above 6 foot.
It's funny because when I do meet, let's say I meet other creators in real life, a lot of times they say like, oh, you're a lot taller than I expected, because you just don't, your height doesn't come across in videos.
Makes you stand out a lot in Japan as well, right? So
yeah,
you said a lot of old ladies will just kind of come up and talk to you. You have a TikTok video, right?
Yeah, I do.
Can you explain that one?
This happens to me more often than you might think, but I get approached by like older Japanese women for some reason, and I think it's just because I do stand out. Like I am kind of tall. Maybe I just look, I don't know, like foreign, I guess. But I went to the park and I had like a stick of dango that I was filming a video for, and these two older ladies came up to me and started chatting me up. Maybe they were hitting on me, I don't know, but no. I enjoy talking with them because it really reminds me of talking with maybe my grandma, for example, right? Like
it was a very wholesome video.
Very wholesome. Yeah.
He had a dango sword.
Dango sword,
which is basically just a giant. Did you make that? It was a stick with a bunch of dango that you put on.
The first one that I got, I bought it in Harajuku. Yeah. But after that interaction with the old ladies, I realized, hey, this is actually kind of a fun idea. So I ended up making my own, and then I took it to Nakameguro during spring. Yeah. And where there's like so many people walking around watching the cherry blossoms, and it was such a hit. Like I think like so many people stopped and took pictures that day. I even ran into Shizuka. Yeah. Shout out to Shizuka.
Yeah. But that's the one thing I like about Japan is like you can do these like random, funny, crazy. It's not even that crazy. Just walking around with a dango sword, but you get to have all these nice interactions with people. Japanese people are. I don't know. If you did it in the U.S., somebody might be like, "Hey, look at this asshole! Look
at this loser! What is he doing?" But instead, you get old ladies like, "Nani yatte
yeah, well, and you. I don't know. People in Japan are, in the Tokyo, a lot of people say Tokyo people are cold and things like that. But maybe true, maybe not true. But what about Tottori? Let's kind of talk a little bit about your story of going to Tottori, why you went to Tottori, the countryside, before all of this, before you became Koji Mochi, the content creator. We started out saying that you're from Hawaii and you grew up half Japanese. As if that was a choice. But that's part of the reason you went to Tottori. We didn't explain, but you're an English teacher for the JET program, which is a popular program.
I feel like, definitely a lot of this goes back to just growing up in Hawaii as like half Japanese. So the school that I went to Noelani. Somebody might know. It's in Manoa. There were a lot of other Japanese kids, but not all of them had direct ties to Japan. Like maybe they were third generation, fourth generation. So not a lot of them could speak Japanese. Not a lot of them understood Japanese. Not a lot of them were like visiting Japan every summer, like maybe I was. So I think growing up, I thought that I was like, oh, like I'm super Japanese. I'm like special. Like
you're the main character.
Yeah, I'm the main character. Basically, I felt like a main character. I think they call that like chunibyo or something.
Chunibyo? Is that? Oh, yeah.
Is that kind of a
chunibyo
term? Is It's not a good term. You think like the world revolves around you.
Yeah. Chunibyo is like chuni isn't that middle school second year?
Yeah.
So it's, and byo is sickness, which
Right.
means basically you're like a middle school. You're full of yourself because you're in middle school. You're a second year in middle school, basically a seventh grader.
I think that's correct, but I think it's also something that a lot of like when you're growing up, everybody kind of experiences that phase where you think the world revolves around you, and then most people mature out of it. I think that's what that is.
Did you mature out of it?
Yes, I will say I did.
But yeah, so you're saying you were somebody who's more connected to your Japanese side.
I also want to say on top of that, growing up with a Japanese last name too, I think when I met other people that were mixed Japanese, a lot of them had maybe like really white sounding last names.
Yeah.
But I don't know why, but my parents gave me my mom's last name. Like you would think that it's my dad who's Asian, but it was actually my mom that was the Asian one, because there's a stereotype of like, yeah. But they ended up giving me Kojimoto as my last name. So I think that also kind of played into why I felt more Asian growing up, because I could have been a totally different person
if you had a white last name.
If I had taken my dad's last name, I would have been Costello. And I
Ah.
probably would have been named, so my first name is actually James, so I would have been James Costello instead of Kai Kojimoto.
Is Kai your middle name?
Kai's my middle name.
You know, it's funny, a lot of people call you Koji still because
Yeah.
Kojimochi, but your last name's Kojimoto.
Yeah, my last name's Kojimoto.
First name James.
First name James.
Middle name is
Middle name Kai.
officially Kai.
But I've always gone by Kai.
Right.
My parents have always called me Kai.
I've never thought about that actually, but I do have a Japanese middle name.
Mm-hmm.
It's Tatsuro.
Tatsuro.
But it's Max Capo, right? So
yeah. What's your mom's last name?
Ishikawa.
So Tatsuro Ishikawa.
Yeah. So,
Imagine growing up
Ishikawa Tatsuro.
Ishikawa Tatsuro.
A lot of people, when I tell them my name is like Ishikawa Tatsuro in Japanese, they're like, "Dareda?" Like,
Dareda.
who is that? Dareda, who is that? It's
Same.
like, I'm like, to me though, I'm like, oh, that's just me though. That's my
Yeah.
that's my Japanese name. My official name is Maximilian Tatsuro Ishikawa Capo. So, am I gonna get blasted? Like, I don't know. People are gonna use my identity now.
Nobody thinks
but
I look like a James.
I've never thought about maybe the name making somebody feel more or less Japanese until now. I
think it plays a big part.
You know, maybe it does, because like growing up, I guess people knew I was Japanese only because they would see my mom. I don't know if just from my looks. I did have the bowl cut though, so I did feel like I look kind of Asian in that regard.
Yeah, I will say that kind of growing up thinking that I was like very Japanese is what led me to eventually want to live in Japan. And then the only way I knew how to do it was through the JET program. I guess at the time, I didn't know that there were other ways you could live in Japan as a foreigner. And teaching English was like, that's what everyone talked about, especially in college. It's like, oh, you want to live in Japan? Oh, you should consider trying to teach English there.
What is the JET program? What it stands for? Japanese what?
Japanese English teaching, I think.
Really?
I think.
Is that program still around?
Yeah, it's still around.
Is it good? Do you recommend it?
I would recommend it. As much as I shit on it sometimes, I think it was still like one of the most valuable experiences of my life, probably.
But like, they made you give up your Japanese passport.
Right. Oh my god, I forgot about that.
Why did the JET program make you give up your Japanese passport? Your citizenship. That's gold. You can't.
Yeah. And the craziest thing was they didn't tell me until I got accepted that I would have to denounce my Japanese citizenship. So I had dual citizenship, but once I was accepted, they were like, oh, congrats, you've been accepted. But by the way, if you have dual citizenship, we need you to bring in your passport so we can void it.
What a bunch of rule followers at JET. They're like,
yeah,
we gotta make sure you get rid of that. But also it's like, because then you have to go through their visa and go through all of that.
Yeah.
And it's like almost, are they doing it so that you become reliable or
it's totally possible.
Them?
It's totally possible.
Don't give it up, guys.
Don't give it up.
If you're half Japanese, or full Japanese. If you have both, don't give it up.
Yeah, I think that's the main takeaway from this is like,
But don't tell anyone.
you don't have to. You can kind of just not say. You can kind of just get away with not saying you have both. Like some people, like some people that I know that are in their 30s and still have dual citizenship.
I also know some people that have both.
Yeah,
I know, but
if I had known, I wouldn't have given it up.
Anyway, so you decided to go live in Japan or work in Japan just because you had that connection to Japan.
Yeah.
But you did mention some stories about, you know, how you felt when you actually got there, that you're like, oh,
yeah,
I don't feel as Japanese as I thought.
Yeah, I think a lot of like mixed culture kids kind of experience that, like that little identity crisis, you know, because of course growing up, yeah, I thought I was super Japanese, and then to become more Japanese, I thought, okay, yeah, I'll just go live in Japan. You know, I'll be next to my grandparents. This is gonna make my grandparents proud. This is gonna make my mom proud. But then going and living in Tottori made me feel the most like American ever. Like, it's so funny. It's ironic that like finally moving to Japan and living there for 2 years made me realize just how American I was.
Do you like,
or yeah, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if you had to put a number on it, like a lot of people ask, like, oh, do you feel more American or Japanese to mixed Japanese people? And a lot of people say 50-50 or this or that. At one point I was like, yeah, probably 50-50, and now I'm like, well, my values are probably more leaning towards like Western or American for sure, even though when I'm speaking Japanese and I'm around Japanese people, maybe I can like understand the different point of view, but I don't know. Just for the content, I was like, what if we had to put a number on it?
Put a number on it.
It's
definitely 6-4. I don't know. It's probably. See, this is tough because like coming from Hawaii, we also don't really see ourselves as like full-on American. So there's kind of that factor added to it as well. But I could say like maybe 60% foreign, 40% Japanese. Because it's hard for me to even sometimes relate to like other Americans being from Hawaii.
I understand. I was just saying it for the lulz. like no, you can't just put numbers on this type of stuff. Yeah. Like, obviously,
it's tough. Being
half Japanese, and I guess you wanted to. You had one story about your mom. Also being mistaken. Can you go? Explain
I can kind of like explain this. I need to give a little bit more backstory. I think I had certain expectations, maybe like for my first 6 months that I was in Tottori. Like, I was going to go on this journey to become more Japanese, or what I thought was Japanese.
Sorry, I thought you were going to say become the avatar.
I was going to go on this journey, become the avatar. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was disappointed because I was still I was always getting the questions of like, are you used to Japanese food? And like, you're so good at eating rice. Or like, you're so good with chopstick. It's like the classic.
I mean, there's every foreigner who goes to Japan will get this, right? Or but like when I say foreigner, I even mean tourists.
Yeah.
You'll get the Nihongo Jozu.
Nihongo Jozu, yeah, that one you hear so much. And even just being from Hawaii, we use chopsticks anyways. Like, everybody uses chopsticks there.
Yeah.
It was hard. It was getting tiring to just explain that to like every coworker, every person that you met. And I guess eventually my mom came to visit me while I was living in Tottori, and I brought her to the school to meet like my coworkers. So we're actually skipping ahead a little bit. This was probably maybe almost 2 years into my teaching position. Yeah, so I brought my mom into work with me. In order to get into the school, you have to pass by the front desk, and my mom is met with the front office lady. My mom, being super Japanese, was just like, oh, like, 息子さんに like この2年間お世話様になりましたとか. And then
meaning like
thanks for taking care of my son the past 2 years, basically. And then the front office lady just kind of blank stared at my mom and was just like, 日本語上手ですね. And I couldn't believe it. I was shocked that even my mom, who's full Japanese, was getting Nihongo Jozu, something that I got all the time.
Right.
And I couldn't help but kind of laugh. And my mom was probably also shocked to get that for the first time as well.
She's
But,
like, I
yeah,
lost
she
my
was-
Japanese card.
Yeah, she was kind of just like, what? Anyways, but then she was able to explain that, oh, like she's actually born and raised in Ishikawa, like she's from Japan.
Mhm.
But it was a big realization for me because I found out that just by association with me,
Mhm.
that someone could see my mom as like an outsider as well. So it made me realize that it was hopeless to like put so much energy into trying to change people's perception.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
maybe you want it to be perceived more as Japanese. And
Yeah,
then-
I think up until that point, I was really trying to be perceived as more
but
Japanese.
then you realize even your own mom.
Yeah,
who's
that's
Japanese,
what I'm trying to
gets
say.
Nihongo-
That's what I'm trying to say.
She gets outsided, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Even somebody who's born and raised in
Right,
Japan
right,
is
right.
Japanese by looks, still
Yeah.
got, outsided. And I don't know. She's from Ishikawa, right? Ishikawa Prefecture. Your mom.
So she's from a similar place,
Yeah.
like Tottori, like
Yeah,
super inaka.
It's kind of, Jasmine. For those who don't know, one of my biggest interviews was
Shout out to Jasmine.
shout out to Jasmine. She's Japanese, but she's actually, her parents are both British, so that she looks white, but she's born and raised in Japan, speaks both languages. Japanese is her dominant language, but she's from Ishikawa as
Yeah.
well, which
Yeah.
is where your grandparents are from. And some people notice that Ishikawa people have a different accent, like a little bit of
Oh.
like the Ishikawa
Yeah.
accent. And I don't know if that makes it sound more foreign or not like standard Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, but
Maybe. I mean, I don't think my mom was using Ishikawa Ben when talking.
dude,
to...
this whole being Japanese or not topic is so interesting.
Mm.
In the long run, you kind of start to realize, look, it doesn't really matter.
It
Like,
doesn't. Yeah.
just learn Japanese, speak Japanese. If
Yeah.
you can speak Japanese, I think in Tokyo nowadays, like no one really cares as much if it's pretty rare to be like Nihongo Ojozu'd in Tokyo. Like now.
Yeah.
I think people are just
Yeah,
like, whatever.
I don't think I've gotten it in a while.
Oh, you're from Japan. Like, I think
Mm.
a lot of people are actually, maybe, who knows, maybe they've even seen some of my videos where they're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're from Japan. You just look different because you're half Japanese or you're just born and raised in
Yeah.
Japan, but your parents are both like Indian or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So it happens way less in Tokyo now.
And
in
I
my
think,
opinion.
this experience definitely made me feel more. I felt more for people like Jasmine, people who were born and raised in Japan and still had to like experience this.
All right. So we're going to fast forward a little bit, but your 2 years at Tottori
Mm-hmm.
was pretty fun. You said you missed driving, actually. I remember.
Yeah,
like,
I used
because
to have a car. Oh
Yeah.
man, it was such a sweet, a
Gig.
sweet perk to have.
Well, driving in Tokyo is a luxury because
Mhm.
maybe people don't know, but a parking spot in Tokyo, probably around 30,000 yen.
Yeah, it's
A month?
expensive. I feel like
Uh,
most people that do have cars in Tokyo are pretty successful.
Yeah,
like it
yeah,
feels
that'd
like.
be like it's a flex. Like
It's
you're
a
not-
flex. It's a flex.
It's a flex if you have a car in Tokyo for sure. It is a flex, but in the countryside, it's basically necessary. Another reason to go, because you can get a completely different experience in the countryside places. I've had friends who've come to Tokyo and they really did like Tokyo
Mhm.
because you can walk everywhere.
Mm,
But-
or take the train everywhere.
Yeah, but when they went to Kyoto, and like Kyoto's still kind of a city, but a little bit outskirts, and they're like, oh, I like this vibe more than
Mm.
Tokyo. So definitely there's some people who come to Japan to travel and they realize, oh, I actually like maybe the
Countryside more.
more than Tokyo. So I think if you do plan a trip to Japan, for anyone watching, think about what you like in your home country and what you want to see in Japan, because there's so much to offer. Japan has so much to offer.
It does.
Just you can take a bullet train for like an hour or not even an hour, 30 minutes, and you can be in a completely like different magical area. Japan is a dream world. I always say.
think the countryside is just such a different experience. Like it's so different.
Yeah, this is great promo for Tottori right now.
It is. Honestly, Tottori is beautiful. Like I think about returning there all the time. I haven't been back since, but like I miss it a lot.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can just look at some Instagram travel influencers videos.
Yeah. Kim went recently, actually.
Okay. Because you got to focus on your cooking stuff.
I know. Yeah. It's been tough to focus on work here in Tokyo.
As you can tell while listening to this episode, me and Kojimochi genuinely love living in Japan. Not only is it a beautiful country, but the people are wonderful and the culture is so rich. And when people travel here, I always just want them to have the best time. And that's also why I'm happy to share that today's episode is sponsored by Klook. Klook is an experience-based booking platform with thousands of destinations around the world. If you ever plan a trip to Asia, check out Klook. There are many ways to enjoy specifically the outdoors in Japan. And one big thing I always recommend people to do if they come in spring is to do cherry blossom viewing, otherwise known as hanami. This spring 2024, Klook is having a cherry blossom viewing campaign. They're offering over 180 tours and activities around Japan, as well as Korea and Taiwan. Klook also has their own app that makes it super easy to make any booking. Before Klook even reached out to me, I'd actually already used Klook before. I had to book a Team Labs exhibit. Klook had the best time slots and also the best pricing. So I genuinely think that Klook has some of the best deals on their website, and I was already recommending people to go check them out even before this partnership. To celebrate their Cherry Blossom campaign, you can use my code MAXDCapo15 to get 15% off of all of their Cherry Blossom tours. The promo code is only going to be available during their campaign length, which is February 12th to March 10th. So book it now. Once again, thank you to Klook for sponsoring this episode. But let's talk about your cooking, how you got into anime cooking and your Instagram, TikTok come up, and YouTube Shorts now. You know, because after Tottori, you this might be helpful for some people listening who want to do more content creation and make videos. You had to make the decision. Obviously, Jet ends after 2 years, and you can renew or go back home, right? Well,
you can renew every year up to 5 years.
Okay.
So going in, I knew I only wanted to do 2. I felt 1 was too short, 3 was too long. Okay. Yeah, and I was right. It got repetitive even in the second year. I think during the second year, once it started to get a little repetitious, I felt kind of trapped because I don't think I wanted to pursue teaching. That wasn't my initial goal. I just wanted to live in Japan. But
so if somebody just wants to make it to Japan, 1 year is a little short for a Jet.
1 year was a little short. It went by so fast.
Yeah. So anyone who's in college right now, if you want to come to Japan, though, you can. This is the come up story. If you want to try to make it to Japan,
consider teaching English for a little bit, maybe.
I always tell people you need to find. I would recommend not working. English teaching is a little different. English conversation school. I've talked about this on a different podcast, but English conversation schools, you need like no skills and you can just do it in Tokyo and you get paid like minimum wage and almost any place will take you. It's basically it's in English conversation schools. I'm sure people know what this is, but sit down, there's like a native speaker and then Japanese people come to the table to talk to you and they pay like an hourly fee, like 1,000 yen or something to talk to you. And you get paid maybe 1,000 yen an hour. A lot of these places are kind of sus and sketchy because they'll pay you under the table. I was talking to my friend Shizuka about this lately, and there was a ranking system in our school that I've been long gone from this English conversation cafe, but the ranking system was like not Asian, native English speaker is like at the top, so like kind of like white and black people at the top.
What the heck?
And then if you were like full Japanese but a native speaker, you weren't in this top category of.
Why does it sound like you guys are like hosts, like working at like
it was weird. Yeah, so I think honestly though, I can't remember, I could be botching it, but second place was maybe like non-native but foreign looking, so maybe like an Italian person that could speak English was still like above the Asians that could speak English perfectly. And what I mean, I think it was an internal ranking system. I don't think it was like external, but even so, seeing it internally, it's like, oh, this is kind of like, what is this? What is this?
Not everybody should see this.
So long story short, I got a little bit derailed there, but having a
But I mean,
general
yeah,
idea
it's all
to
related.
try to get out of English teaching is a good plan to have another skill besides being able to speak English. But you, yeah, COVID. Yeah, this was around 2020, so you quit teaching, and then COVID happened. And then
I will say I've worked a lot of different jobs in my short. I guess I'm not that old yet, but I've worked a lot of different jobs. I've been a shave ice shop. I've worked at the state capitol. I've worked as like a snail specialist at a museum.
I forgot about the snail
Yeah,
specialist.
that one's kind of random.
How long were you a snail? What does that even mean?
I was just in like the, what is it even called when you're inside the, it's like a library, not a library.
And I don't know. I was gonna say annex.
Yeah, I felt like I was in an annex.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, because I was in like this
Is that
back
what it's
room.
called? I feel like I'm using the wrong. Am I using the
Maybe.
right language? Annex.
But basically, I was just in the back counting snail shells and inputting them into a database. That's like a totally different time of my life. And then I did teaching, but I will say throughout every one of those jobs, one thing that was consistent was that I was always making videos on the side. So when I stopped teaching English in JET, I kind of hit that point. I just turned 25. I just finished teaching English, and I was kind of thinking, what am I gonna do? Like, I had kind of like a quarter life crisis.
Yeah.
But when I realized that making videos was what was always most fun to me, that was kind of how we ended up meeting.
Yeah.
It's all related to that.
I remember you reached out to me.
Yeah.
Wait, did you reach out?
The way that I remember it is I followed you on Instagram, and then
I think
you
looked
saw my
at
video.
your video rollerblading. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's cool because I rollerblade.
So you commented like, oh, rollerblading cool, or like, I like videos of rollerblading, something like that. And then because of that, I decided to ask you if you needed any help with like editing, because I was jobless. I was looking for something to do, and I knew I wanted to be part of making videos.
Yeah, and ironically, that was when not ironically, coincidentally, I'm using my language wrong. That was when producer here, Matt Cab, reached out to me and said, "Hey, I've seen your videos, Max, of interviews. Do you want to interview Miyachi, who is a very big rapper here in Japan? He's an artist, and at the time, so I was like, actually, Kai, I might need help filming this video."
Such good timing.
With Miyachi, who at the time he had multiple hits. Eigo Wakarimasen, Mainichi. Shout out obviously to Miyachi. I feel like he's been pushing things forward in Japan for the hip hop community as well as mixed Japanese people. So
yeah.
So we organized that, and you helped me shoot that video.
Yeah.
And
so I came to Tokyo. I stayed in Tokyo for like 2 weeks, I think, October 2020. And then we met for the first time. We shot that. And then I went back to Hawaii.
Yeah. Well, before that, we should say the Family Mart rap, which a lot of people know.
I can't believe that.
We have to talk about the Family
happened.
Mart rap. So we shot the interview, and Matt and Miyachi were like, all right, but we also want to shoot this new song, because Matt said he had this idea for a song where we take the Family Mart. Like, anyone who's been to Japan, when you walk into Family Mart, you hear this chime that goes like dun, 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 dun. So Matt put that on a beat.
Yeah.
And Miyachi was like, oh yeah, this is fire.
It was magical watching them just cook, I guess.
So in about 4 hours, like, we went to Family Mart, bought a bunch of stuff.
Bought a bunch of snacks.
Yeah. Miyachi was writing the lyrics while Matt was making beats, and
he was also recording sound effects with the snacks.
Yeah.
Like the bottle opening, the CC Lemon opening.
Yeah.
And like the Jagariko shake.
That song was made in about 4 hours, I remember.
It's crazy, yeah.
Well, the short version. So after that got popular, they made a long version.
Right.
But yeah, we were
But
there.
we pretty much witnessed them just do it in like one sitting, basically.
It's so wild. I was just like, they're so professional.
Also, we
4
have
hours. I'm pretty sure it was like 4 hours. Maybe it was even less.
We have Miyachi on camera saying that you had the alley-oop with the CC Lemon.
Yeah, I felt so proud. My moment.
Dude, I'm so glad you put CC Lemon in your bar.
The day's inspirations. That's your alley-oop right there.
Because
Max brought CC Lemon as like omiyage from somewhere.
Oh wait, no, yeah. Well, it was. I brought a souvenir, a real souvenir, but I brought the fake like. I brought lemon snacks as a souvenir for like shooting with us, but I also brought CC Lemon just as like a joke, like, hey, this is my souvenir. Just kidding.
Oh, okay.
But CC Lemon is a very good like lemony fizzy drink that I love. Very summertime drink. Yeah. So Miyachi put that in the song.
Yeah. CC Lemon, Natsu no Hi.
Yeah.
Hoshin mono erande baby. Kyou wa nandemo ii.
Yeah. Damn, you remember this? Way better than me.
Boku wa machi no G.
Yeah. So
I forgot.
If you ever hear that lyric again, I can't even take. No, I can't. There's no way. I can't take.
Maybe
credit.
He was being nice.
I can't take credit. Like Miyachi is he's on another level. But anyway, that was kind of our first like meeting with each other. It's just so funny that I know a lot of people listen to that song, and I'm always like, I was there, man. I was there.
I don't think many people know that we were there, but
I think it was funny.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and Matt. Also very humble, and he was just like, man, we wouldn't have been able to make that. He didn't say these exact words, but it's like, we wouldn't have been able to make that without you and Kai's vibes, so thank you for being there. I was like, like we really didn't do anything.
I know, I didn't do anything. I just yeah. But for me, for that to be my first like Tokyo experience, it really set the bar high.
Like the dopamine
set the bar so high, and I think that kind of like planted the idea of like I need to come back if I'm gonna be around this environment, like I'm gonna have to come back to Tokyo.
But it was during COVID, so you couldn't really come back. And
I couldn't. I got trapped.
Yeah, you got trapped in Hawaii, but not a bad place to get trapped.
Yeah, not a bad place to get trapped.
But you were still making videos and stuff like that, and you decided to move kind of mid-COVID. It was like 2022, right? So COVID was just kind of ending. We got to talk about how the moving process to Tokyo too, because I think a lot of people will appreciate hearing how to move well and cheaply into Japan. So
I could try to keep it like quick and concise too, like because when I was in Tottori, my apartment was set up for me by the BOE, so I didn't have to really pay attention to anything that they were doing. They just kind of put me in a place. When it came to Tokyo, I just kind of asked my cousin who was also living in Tokyo, shout out to Hinako, how can I get a place? So she showed me the website Sumo. And I stayed with my cousin for about a month. And during that month, I was looking at places every day. And eventually I found like 2 places that I kind of liked that were in my price range. I think all we had to do from there was meet up with the real estate agent and just talk.
You did just point out something though. You had to stay with your cousin for a month to kind of search.
That is true.
This is very difficult if you're like just starting and you don't know anyone.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I need to look for a place, but I need to be in Japan to look for a place.
Yeah. Because you need to physically be there to meet the agent for him to show you the place.
And it's a long process because you can't just like find a place and just be like, okay, move in next week. It's kind of like a whole approval process. And when is it going to be open? They got to clean it. It could be like a month before you can even move in. So I always suggest if people are trying to move to Japan, specifically Tokyo, if you don't have a friend who will let you stay in their place, to do like a monthly apartment, and you can, or Airbnb. You can also just do an Airbnb. One of these two will work, but give yourself like at least a month. And you could put it on a credit card at least when you book Airbnb. Airbnbs are a little bit less available in Tokyo than they used to be.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Years ago, I think in 2018, they made it very hard for people to actually have an Airbnb, because you have to like get it all properly registered with the ward office and all this stuff. But they're still very, very much available. So, you know, you gotta be here kind of to look for a place, and it does take like a month.
Yeah, like I was moving as fast as I could, and it took me about a month.
Yeah. So, and then once you did, you found out that Craigslist in Japan exists.
Yeah, I didn't know Japan had Craigslist.
But it's only used by foreigners, and so you get a bunch of foreigner hand-me-downs.
Yeah, they're called
passed around.
They're called sayonara sales.
Oh yeah,
they're
Goodbyes.
So good because when people need to leave Japan abruptly, it's such a hassle to just throw away everything that people just list everything for free. So I was able to get my couch, my fridge, my shelves, my desk, like tables. I got everything for free. I paid a little bit for a microwave.
You had to carry your table. Like.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I made a whole video about the process of moving. And
if you don't want to carry stuff, like you are a tall, strong guy, right? Some people can't carry this stuff. So if you do need to get like I'll put in a link for this, but there's companies that will just drive your stuff. Like they're not specifically movers, but they will let you, basically you can hire them to just drive stuff when you move from point A to point B, and it's much cheaper than like a mover.
Maybe I should have just done that.
Some people do that. Yeah, some people do that. Some people, I mean, will just do a rental car, but also you need a driver's license to do that. So if you don't have that, your option is like going through a mover that is not a mover, but they just let you use their car, or they drive the stuff. So Craigslist though. So sayonara sales are great. It's both on Facebook and Craigslist.
Oh, okay. Facebook I didn't check.
Yeah, but you can do it all in English. Like I think a lot of people might not know that Tokyo, like you can get by in Tokyo with no Japanese at all.
You definitely can.
You can live here with no Japanese at all, bro. It'd be hard. You can. You shouldn't. You obviously should is what I want to learn Japanese as much as you can. I'm not saying you have to be fluent. I know it's hard to be fluent in another language, but just give that effort, and it will make your life easier as well. And also, you'll be part of the culture and people a lot more. What are some things you want people to know before they live in Japan?
People should study Japanese and learn how to speak and read before coming.
Before coming?
Or before and after coming.
It seems obvious why, but I would say it enriches the experience living in Japan a lot more.
Not only that, but I feel like a good analogy to use is like, it's like DLC content. Being able to speak and read Japanese unlocks characters that you would not come across. It unlocks maps that you would not have access to. It's like DLC content.
That is the best way to explain it.
It is such a good analogy. Like being able to converse with certain people unlocks like side quests, and you go to new places you wouldn't go to if you didn't speak or read Japanese. It's so important because you can get by. You can get by in Tokyo without speaking and reading Japanese, but you don't realize how much you're missing.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like, where's the fun in that? Like, there's so much. I mean, a lot of people that are interested in Japan, maybe they're interested in maybe it's martial arts or cars or anime, but you know, speaking of anime, there's so many amazing characters that you'll run into in an anime, but sometimes in the real world in Japan, you'll find people that are true characters. True and characters. You wouldn't know unless, of course, you speak Japanese. Like, wow, this person is such a character.
Yeah.
And it just makes everything more fun, in my opinion.
It's more fun.
Like, my personality in Japanese is maybe a little bit different in English. And I think a lot of people who are bilingual relate to this, but it's like accessing like a different side of yourself.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like a different universe. So
I also definitely still have a long way to go as far as like being fluent in Japanese. Like I haven't studied in a while, but I've reached that level where I'm comfortable enough to go through, I guess, daily life.
Yeah.
but I definitely need to study more if I want to develop more of a personality.
That reminds me, you brought up that one of your inspirations for making content was Filthy Frank,
Yeah,
who is
Filthy
bilingual
Frank.
in Japanese and English.
Mhm.
I don't know if he speaks anything else, but Joji, obviously he's Joji now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, growing up watching YouTubers like Smosh,
Mhm.
Nigahiga, Kev Jumba,
All
and wanting to
contributed.
be like them, I guess, and Wong Fu too. But Filthy Frank was the only Hafu creator, I feel like, at the time who was speaking English and sometimes Japanese in his videos. And I thought it was so cool when he would switch to Japanese.
And he was I want to say he was ahead of his time. It was like actually a great time that he came in and I guess left, but especially now in the current state of how content and things on TikTok and Instagram are, I feel like Filthy Frank would just be exploding the same way he did back then.
I think so too, yeah.
And you know, he's Japanese, like people love these Japanese content.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's great that we're living in
he wasn't
country.
even teaching like good Japanese, I would say. Like his lessons were very
They were memes.
yeah, let's just say they
Yeah.
were memes, but it was still very inspiring.
Yeah. Speaking of which, though, anyway, we didn't touch too much about how you got into anime cooking specifically.
Oh right, oh yeah, I totally forgot.
Yeah, touch on that just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
So I mentioned how I was always doing videos, even though I was working other jobs. I was always doing videos. So there was one time that I made Dr. Stone Senku Cola. I did like a YouTube tutorial. Because, I mean, I was watching anime. I've been watching anime for a long time. So it did very well. It was my first anime cooking video, and it went past 1 million views. This is 2019. And, like, a lot of people say you don't want your first video to blow up. I can kind of understand that because of how I experienced this.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the first time I had done anime cooking. I was a bit self-conscious, I think. Had it been different where like I was pumping out anime cooking videos already and then one did good, then it might have been easier to kind of commit to that idea of like this is what I want to create. But because that was the first one that did good, I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to be known as a anime cook influencer.
Yeah,
like,
I guess understandable, but why did you feel that way? Because
I think it's because like
was cooking not the thing?
No,
or
it was
the anime specifically.
I don't know. This is a whole nother topic, but being into anime wasn't always cool.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't really get cool until maybe the past 6 years or so.
Yeah, I really think it was pretty recent.
I think it was driven by artists, athletes, and a little bit of people on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like PewDiePie. I remember when he revealed it in like 2018, he was like, guys, I like anime. He was actually very embarrassed to say it.
Oh boy, am I gonna regret this video. But for real, I used to watch a lot of anime.
Liking anime was something you would get bullied for in high school. You would not openly admit to saying that, yeah, I watch anime. It's the same as like saying like, yeah, I watch porn. It would have the same effect. People would be like, what the?
In the early 2000s,
This guy's weird.
Saying I like anime is the same as saying I like porn.
Yeah. People would think you're weird. You could only talk about it with other people you knew who watched anime.
It was very secretive.
It was kind of it was very like everyone was a closeted otaku.
Yeah. However, everyone did kind of respect Dragon Ball Z.
For some reason, people respected Dragon Ball Z, and it's so funny because the bully at our high school was like into Dragon Ball Z. So
that's it. That's
like,
it. The bullies were into it.
The bullies were into Dragon Ball Z because that was the only anime that was like cool to like.
Because they're beating people
yeah,
up.
because they're muscular and they're beating people up.
Yeah. But I guess those feelings go a long way, so it kind of carried into the 20s, and you're like, anime cooking. Am I going to be that guy?
I want to say that I feel like it was like, is it okay to say that I think it was black creators that made anime cool?
I mean, no, I agree with it. I mean, most of the times it's usually black people who make
Make
things
things
cool.
cool.
Like I've had discussion. I mean, what rock music?
Mhm.
Elvis took that. Rap, I think, obviously hip hop. Everything
Yeah.
was like, and then people like non-black people started taking it and be like, oh, it's cool now.
Mm.
Words, Urban Dictionary, all this stuff. So like anime as well. I think like RDC World was one
Yeah.
of the big
Definitely.
content
I
creators.
can name a few, like Long Beach Griffey,
yeah.
Caleb City, King Vader, RDC World.
Yeah, and it was all like late 2010s, right?
They were making all these like skits that were heavily anime related.
Also, Israel Adesanya on the
Yeah.
athlete side, as well as some football players, basketball players, just coming out that they're doing it. And like, no one's gonna tell a fighter or an athlete like,
Mhm.
"Hey, you're weird for liking that," because they're an athlete.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
They're cool.
Yeah, they're cool.
So I think the problem was anime was too uncool because the people that liked anime were not really
Yeah.
cool.
I think I agree, but
Cringe.
also there's also the other theory that we all just kind of grew up and became the ones that like talked about anime
True. The
and made
millennials.
content about it. So
Yeah, but you eventually were like, "Fuck it, I will do it.
Yeah.
I'll make another anime cooking video, and then another one."
Yeah.
It was kind of gradual.
it was very gradual.
for you. I've
I
seen
was
it happen.
yeah. I've known Max this whole time.
Yeah. So I saw the come up. I remember Kai was like, when TikTok or when Reels were introduced on Instagram, because you were already uploading on TikTok,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
Reels were introduced in late 2022. You were like, Max, this is the next thing.
I know. I was
is
like, dude, Max, like we need to make reels.
And I think I said, "Nah, real what?" I was like,
Max was too focused on long form YouTube videos where he
"It's
couldn't.
true."
It was hard to make the connection, I guess.
I
But
think
once
so.
he figured it out, I mean,
Yeah.
you've
Then
been-
I was like, "Oh, I understand the power of real."
yeah, and I have it highlighted in our chat in case you ever forget.
Right. I remember a lot has changed in content. I can't believe like the whole shorts thing became a thing in such a short amount of time. Anime cooking has become so big that now, I mean, you grew your Instagram to over
Yeah.
250,000 followers. Your TikTok is, what is that at? 600 plus? 600K?
500.
500. And then YouTube is going up. So it's been fun. You've made me cosplay as random characters.
Yeah, I've
like-
gotten Max involved in a couple of videos.
I didn't expect I'd still be. I didn't expect I'd be cosplaying in my 30s, but here I am,
Yeah.
and it's been a lot of fun. So, do you have anything that you want to say to some people who's trying to make content on these days, or maybe not even content? It could just be creative, because I think you had to
Yeah.
figure out your. It's kind of like it's like an identity journey. Your journey to become the avatar. Hey, this is full circle.
It was I mean, watching anime was always my hobby. And I think after teaching English and trying to figure out what it was I was going to do, I had two things. I had, okay, I'm okay at editing videos and I like to watch anime. So it was kind of natural that my interests led me to making anime cooking videos, because that's kind of a way you can bring anime into real life, is by recreating dishes from these shows. And I think that's why a lot of people like to watch these videos and kind of make maybe the recipes themselves. It's like a way to bring it into real life. But yeah, I think it just took a lot of getting over the fact that, I mean, anime now is cool, so it wasn't that hard to be like, yeah, I make anime cooking videos. But yeah, it took a little bit of just deciding.
Yeah, some growth.
Some growth.
A little bit of growth.
I'm really glad that people enjoy it, because I really enjoy making those types of videos too. I still am very amazed that I'm even like I am still definitely very small, but it does feel really cool to see some growth.
You know, speaking of anime, I know I'm going to switch topics. We're going to be ending the podcast in a little bit, but Jujutsu Kaisen, you've done a couple cooking related things there.
Yeah. Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 was insane.
I wanted to talk about how I actually don't know. Usher apparently spoiled Jujutsu Kaisen on TikTok, and I don't know what he actually spoiled. And why? Like, why was Usher involved in Jujutsu Kaisen drama?
I can kind of tell you without spoiling it. Basically, there was an Usher song that was pretty memed pretty hard with Gojo. It's Daddy's Home.
Okay, all right.
So people
Gojo's
would play,
daddy.
people would do like Gojo edits with Daddy's Home. But then I think Usher eventually got word of this and made his own video, but ended up spoiling that to anime watchers, whereas it was manga readers who were making the memes.
Oh.
So him's posting something spoiled it to anime watchers.
So he didn't even know. He
didn't
was
even
just
know.
like, he was just memeing.
Yeah, he was just trying to be like, he was trying to join the memes.
Come on, Usher. You just because you're on the Super Bowl. Well, actually, this was before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But that's hilarious. Actually, and speaking of Usher, Super Bowl that just happened. I'm gonna switch just real quick talking about Taylor Swift because she did the Grammys, or she went to the Grammys, then she flew to Tokyo almost like maybe the next day. She performed either 2 or 3 shows in Tokyo.
Yeah.
And then flew back for the Super Bowl, and then her boyfriend Kels won.
Kels insane.
But when Taylor Swift was here, or they were playing in Shibuya, like all the streets, Taylor Swift songs. It was almost like a welcome Taylor Swift into like the entire city of Shibuya. And I was like, actually, I'm kind of here for this. This is kind of cool. I mean, they always play some music. It's not crazy that they're playing music, but it was specifically all this stuff for Taylor Swift. I saw little banners that said "Welcome Taylor."
Wow! Even though she was here so short,
yeah,
too.
it's so short, but she's got a strong fan base in Japan as well, and maybe people aren't as intense as the Swifties back in America, but I just thought it was kind of funny, like seeing that, and
yeah, a lot of celebrities.
Actually, a lot of celebrities here. Ed Sheeran was here. Bruno Mars loved Japan. I could tell. I feel like he loves Japan one of the most out of like American celebrities.
Yeah, I really liked. He had that one video that he posted of him just running around Japan.
Yeah, he's popular too, but not as popular as Koji Mochi.
Okay. Not even close.
You've been recognized a couple times.
Can I just say Bruno Mars went to my high school?
Okay, well, really?
Super random.
So you're
Super
on
random.
equal footing.
No, okay. What did you say?
I don't know. Oh no, I was just saying. Have you been recognized in Tokyo as Koji Mochi?
Not as much as Max has been recognized.
Dude, the funny thing is though, when I get recognized, it's like, hey, I want a picture with you, and then they take the photo and like, hey, what's your name? I'm like, whoa. So
they're just like, I've seen you, but. Who are you?
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. I think are you just mistaking me for someone else? So I'm like, I'm Max. It's literally in the channel name of the video that you'd be seeing. So I don't really care.
I had all these pictures I didn't get to show you.
Dude, yeah, I know.
Should I just go through it, or I don't know?
Show one photo.
One thing. Do you know what this is?
What is that?
So we talked about how I'm considered to being tall in Japan. I had this on my wall in Tottori. And each line represents the number of times I've hit my head on this light.
On this specific light?
Yeah, on this specific light.
Yeah, and it's on a receipt.
Yeah.
You've hit your head 15 times.
Yeah. 15 times before I stopped counting. So there were more times.
And you gotta watch your head if you're anywhere above 6 foot in Japan.
Yeah.
Especially Tottori.
Be careful.
Thanks, Kai, for being here.
Thank you for having me, Max.
Yeah.
Seriously, like it's been a pleasure. You guys don't know this, but I know Max in real life too, not only on the internet. But Max has always been there for me.
Oh wow.
My lowest points, my highest points. So it's a pleasure to be here now.
Hopefully many more high points to come. But yeah, literally we hang out a lot. We just have never shot like a podcast together, so
yeah, it's so cool to be sitting here.
Finally. It took a long time, but damn, I'm glad we could talk about your stories, and hopefully in the future, and you can always come back. The great thing about podcasts is it's not just like a one-time thing. If there's more information, if anyone wants to hear more, from Kai. Follow him if you don't know who he is. I know a lot of people just see these types of videos because it's in their homepage and not because they're subbed. They might not know either one of us. But definitely if you like some ADHD level anime cooking videos, follow Kai on Instagram. Thank you guys.